Hey guys, how's it going? Today I'm giving a brief but in-depth perspective on one of the more high-budgeted content creation games to make its way onto the scene. That game being Media Molecule's Dreams. To shed a bit of light on things, Media Molecule are the British game studio best known for creating the charming Little Big Planet series as well as the very underrated Unfolded. Now ever since their big breakout here in 2008, Media Molecule have pretty much served as the artsy child in PlayStation's giant studio family. I myself can speak firsthand that the creative tools provided in the first Little Big Planet game were just the thing I needed around a time where I was finding it hard to latch onto an artistic hook. The amount of hours I sank into the series most likely stretches even the lengthiest of RPGs I played in my lifetime. Eventually, soon after the PS4 was growing its wings, the team announced Dreams to the world, and here we are, almost 4 years later, with the open early access version available to all of us. If you're familiar with the Little Big Planet series, then you can see how Dreams basically takes the play, create, share mold from before, only now with the cardboard and glue swapped out for marble, stone and blowtorches. Unlike before, where we were finding ways to bend the rules of a 2D side-scroller, this time we are basically given our very own game engine to work with. And for what I mind so far of the game, it seems to manage it all pretty well so far, with a few concerns I'll talk about later. In a similar way to Little Big Planet, Dreams does its best to present itself in as charming and as soft-spoken a manner as it can be, so as to allow instructions and pointers to be easy to understand for almost all ages. With that said, moving from Little Big Planet to Dreams is not like switching from a manual car to an automatic one, it's more like moving from an old biplane to an airliner. While there are things that regular Little Big Planet players will recognise like circuit boards, connectors and more, additions like modelling, painting and animation will certainly come off as a bit intimidating when first introduced. Now the main way in which you control everything is with your imp that you use to guide using the DualShock 4 motion controls so as to control objects and navigate through the menus. You can also use dual move controllers, but I'll get into that a bit later. The function of having to direct your imp around like a mouse is something that might turn many off early on, as you'll occasionally be recentering it from time to time. Now the game does provide a few shortcuts to some of your commands, but good luck remembering them all after you've crammed everything else in. Let me make this clear, this is not something you're just going to know off by heart in a few hours. This certainly ain't Guitar Hero or Wii Sports for sure. Media Molecule has provided a collection of tutorials for players ranging from basics like moving and interacting with objects, to gameplay mechanics like programming and character creations, to advanced artistic areas like painting and environment sculpting. The way in which they function is very similar to online lessons where they hand you a scene with the needed props and gadgets already laid out for you, all while having a video in the background for which you can follow along with step by step. The video guide operates well, with you being able to pause and jump back and forth for a few seconds in case you miss anything, and you can even set it to full screen or audio only. It can start off at a smooth pace, but by the midway point it definitely gets to be more challenging when it comes to following along with everything. I managed to slog my way through them all, but after a while I kinda just shut my brain off and just messed around while still trying to learn stuff. I don't know how others feel about this, but a lot of it can feel like you're having to run a 20-person game studio while all your staff are sick and you have to fill in for every one of them. I actually started to appreciate those games that advise you to take 30-minute breaks after you've been on for too long. The dual move controllers present an alternative that comes with both its advantages and its disadvantages. Advantage-wise, it's neat having one hand that essentially acts as your brush while the other acts as your palette, and honestly, sculpting with the DualShock can feel so aggravating, what with the difficulty in moving in all dimensions rapidly. As for the disadvantages, there are quite a few. Moving about can be both a figurative and literal drag. Most, like myself, are not likely to get a feel for the move's odd button layout, especially when both sticks have the same symbols. The commands can be even harder to memorize, and with the exception of a few, it's not exactly ideal for use in play mode. Speaking of which, let's talk about how others have been using the creation tools. Thanks to the limited beta Media Molecule has set up over the past few months, players have already been at work providing a slew of creations for us to pore over. And while this game is only just now out for everyone, there are a few that, well, tend to follow a similar structure if I do say so. There's these super pretty looking ones that are easy to catch your attention and will likely be over in less than 30 seconds. And before any of you jump on me, no, I don't expect many of these super good looking creations to be decently long or have some sort of mind-blowing gameplay to them. I'm just simply warning those that do see these creations and end up having them fail to meet their expectations. Next there are the recreations that normally take an iconic scene or level and do a bang up job of breathing new life of sorts into them. Props to Louise729 for their recreation of the now inaccessible PT demo. There are the basic 3D platformers that, while not breaking any new ground, do come with a few surprises here and there, and given a higher higher budget and a few changes, they could potentially amount to something on the same level as A Hat in Time. And finally, there's the go nuts creations that tend to speak for themselves. All joking aside, it is amazing to see what people have put their time into, especially when you remember that the majority of these were likely made by a single individual and not a team of people. I have to give credit to the idea of some using this game as almost a portfolio for skills in artistry, game design, and narrative design. A few other bits to discuss is that, at this time anyway, there is no collection of studio created content that could be seen as story mode in the same vein as Little Big Planets, which personally I would love to see given how good looking some of the team's own creations have come out. One addition I find very confusing is the inclusion of a leveling system, which I can only assume is based around how much time you spend in both playing, creating, and learning. However, the only thing leveling up seems to get you are new imps, which honestly means so little when compared to all the ways you could dress up your Sackboy. A neat way of bringing out the competitive nature in players is with the community jams that have creators designing levels based around a single theme, which then go on to be voted on by the community to see which 3 are considered to be the best. Before I close this up, I want to talk a bit more about my own personal experience with this game. If I haven't made it clear already, this is not your typical game, nor is it your typical sandbox game. Take away your past experience with the developer's previous games, as well as any other games that allow for this much creative freedom, and ask yourself if you are willing to put the time and effort into learning all there is to bring your vision to life. Because honestly, I would not be surprised if someone told me they walked away due to it all being just too much for them to handle. Speaking for myself at where I stand at this time, a time in which I feel already stretched thin on free time as it is, this game had my brain in knots at times. Not so much from all the tools and programming needed to be learned, but from the willingness I had to simply sit down and master everything, or while my video scheduling gets pushed back once again. It's not the nicest feeling to have, even when I know I'm playing this game for its own video to come. But then one evening I just played about for a bit in create mode. I didn't worry about recording or watching tutorials or how I knew I was likely not going to achieve the same level as other creators, and instead just made whatever came to mind with the skills I had on me. And in the end, I had a decent time seeing my ideas come into place with my own hands guiding me through it all. But let's wrap this up with some final questions. First, the question the developers are most likely interested in: what can be improved upon? While I can't pick out any specific flaws, the main thing that needs to be worked on in my opinion is making sure that the menu interface isn't going to be giving you a migraine after a few hours. In particular, switching between modes and using certain tools. Also, while I know the grid is there to help with lining things up, having a button set to helping straighten things out would be more appreciated in my opinion. That being said, this may already be a thing and I've simply just forgotten about it or haven't come across it yet. Second question, who would I recommend for this game? My first thought naturally would be anyone who loves creating, but honestly the people who might get a kick out of this the most in my opinion is anyone who is considering or just about to enter into some form of higher education into game design. Speaking from personal experience, there are more than a few similarities to some of the software you are likely to get your hands on while on whatever course you may take or be taking at this time. I'm not saying you should put experience with dreams on your application, at least not now, but it can help in giving you an idea of what you have to contend with down the line. And finally, how often do I plan on coming back to dreams? Like a lot of people who see themselves as artists, I get an idea and I want to see it come to light, and I don't always have the tools available to get the job done. This game has proven that given the time and work, you can make a lot of things possible that you didn't think you could with any other form of artistic expression. While I can't say I'll be playing Dreams often, I can see myself coming back to it once in a while to see what new heights people have climbed, and maybe even see if I too can get one of my own works up there one of these days. I truly hope this game continues to grow a strong creative community that encourages Media Molecule to keep building upon what they've achieved here and help push the minds of many players, storytellers, and artists alike. Hey guys, just want to say thank you for tuning in. I know things have been a bit slow in the past few months, but I'm hoping to use these next few weeks to crack on multiple videos, so keep an eye out very soon. And as always, thank you all for the love and support you've given me.